Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Saturday to you all of you masterminders, all of you think and grow rich individuals. My name is Dr. Peter A. James, and I'm so excited to be here with you as we dive into another edition of the Think and Grow Rich Mastermind Show. Let me start off with this statement right here from the book, from the infamous book that we dive into. To be truly educated is to have so developed the faculties of mind that one may acquire anything one wishes or its equivalent without violating the rights of others. Can you say you're able to do that today? That's the $1 million question of the day. So, without further ado, I'm not here by myself. I have to bring in my distinguished angels who are going to be talking about specialized knowledge with us today. Chapter 4 of Napoleon Hill's phenomenal text, Think and Grow Rich, Specialized Knowledge. So, Galen Bingham, the leadership strategist, good morning to you, sir. How are you doing today?
Good morning. Good morning. Great to have you back. Great to have you back. This is going to be an incredibly important conversation because we are. I'm going to speak up. I'm going to speak for myself. I'm in the process of shifting what I have always thought about relative to what does it mean to be educated.
Mhm.
I pride myself as at being an educated person. I'm paying for my daughter's education, but it's really not about the stuff that you learn. It's about, you know, how can you develop access to information so that you can put that in an organized fashion so that you can ultimately do something with it. So this principle is actually taking me on a journey, and I can't imagine two people that I would rather be on this journey with other than you and Miss Ann.
And good stuff, Galen. We're diving in, and you're right. Maybe this whole education conversation, this whole the way that we think about it, needs a shift. And maybe after today, we will be able to identify what that shift may look like. But it's just not me and you, though, Galen. I'm sorry, man. It's just not me and you.
That would
We
be a
have
great
someone
conversation.
very special with us, and let's bring her on in here. Ann McNeill, good morning to you. How are you doing today?
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Actually, I say if I were any better, I would be both of you. Now, that is really something. It's going to be another exciting, exciting, exciting conversation because when you think about your specialized knowledge, what does it look like? As we were preparing for the show this morning, we're talking about how knowledge must be not just acquired, but it must also be properly organized in order to be utilized for a definite purpose with the accountability of your mastermind group. So let's get this party started because it is on.
So I'm going to go ahead and open it up and get controversial right off the top and talk about us and talk about our audience. Because here's what we do sometimes as a society, we talk about sending our kids to college or getting them some education. I even have sometimes I hear people say, "Oh, I just want to go to college because it's always been a dream of mine to accomplish that degree, to get that doctorate. It's just been a dream." But literally, that's in many cases, a 50,000, $100,000 dream that you're investing in, that you're just telling me you're doing it just to get this dream accomplished. But on the other side of that accomplishment, what are we doing with it? In the text on page 75, Napoleon Hill says, knowledge will not attract money or any other kind of success unless it is organized and intelligently directed through practical plans of action to the definite end of accumulating money. So, Galen and Ann, I know you've been like me. You've been to colleges. You tell your kids and even grandkids, we've done this, go to college and become a success. In many cases, go to college and get a good job. But I'm going to toss this out there to say that path is definitely not a straight line as we make it sound, number one. But number two, are we equipping the people that we tell that to be successful?
I, I can
Ooh,
I can go first.
please, yes.
I want to go back before what we tell our children.
Okay.
Let's go back to what we were told.
Mm-hmm.
You see, for me, I'm old enough to remember riding in the back of the bus with my mom holding my hand. But I'm also young enough to have benefited from the 1964 Civil Rights Act that gave me the right to work in corporate. But my mom was also taught by her mom and dad, go to school and get a good education.
Yeah.
And then if you go back a couple of more generations from that, it was all about slavery. So when we think about this um, journey and how do we get here, it also goes back to the debate, old debate between Booker T and Du Bois, who Booker T said, oh, blacks should be entrepreneurs. And Du Bois said, no, blacks should be professionals. And so what has happened, I just think that over the time we have been saddled with this information. Really, I also think popularized by the industrialization, if you will, of
Mm.
these un-United States, whereby we are taught to get more and more and more education in these degrees in order to go into the corporate world, in order to run the manufacturing organizations of the world. Okay, with that back,
Capitalism. Capitalism.
okay, but capitalize this.
Mhm.
We are thinking and growing richer. We have the responsibility. We have the responsibility to think for ourselves on our own. And I think you and I talked about, and Galen talked about the missing link. The missing link in all of this is that we, in this civilization, is education, right? We found that exactly what you said. This this information must be organized and used, but to acquire what? And I keep going back to the first chapter. It is for the accumulation of money. The money, if it's even in your payroll as a professional, or it's money even if it's in your business as an entrepreneur. So we cover that. Now, for me, my parents told me go to school, get a good education, and then get a good corporate job.
Yes.
So my entire career has been in that direction. So I did that. Went to high school, went to college, got an undergraduate degree in accounting, and then went on to undergraduate degree in accounting from Florida Memorial University, my alma mater. Then went on to Barry University, got my master's. But while working on my master's, and this is where it shifted, I read this book. And this book shifted me to realize, let's go to the section where he talks about, uh, there's a section in the book, the author calls it um, How to Purchase Knowledge. When I read that and realized that while working on an advanced degree, I could purchase knowledge specializing in construction. Therefore, I went to a trade school while working a corporate job, while working on a master's degree in finance,
Mm.
a trade school. All my friends laughed. My husband thought I was crazy. But my point is, how do we shift? Let's go back to your question from the beginning of the program.
Yeah.
How do we shift? This is where the accountability and a mastermind group comes on. So I'll put a pin in that and go to Galen, because we desire in this masterclass today to shock some of our listeners into the realization you gotta stop. You must stop right where you are and question where you're going.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Again, I thought you were going to go directly to where my head's at. We've got to stop and we've got to go back to the first word in the title of the book. Think. Just think about what is it that we want to do with this knowledge that we're gaining. And we might not know the answer to that, but we should be in ever pursuit of that. And one of the things that used to always, um, I wouldn't say astonish, but it would always make me wonder. When I was in high school, I got relatively good grades in high school. It was interesting that because I played basketball, I tended to get better grades during basketball season because my dad said if I didn't have a 3.0, I couldn't play basketball. So there was a purpose to my good grades. And then when I got to college, I got even better grades than I got in high school, right? It's like in college, the grades were actually pretty good. They weren't just okay. They were actually pretty good in college. But then when I got to business school, oh my God, I'm like, if I could have gotten grades in undergrad like I got in grad school, oh my Lord, I might have been at the top of my class because in business school, my grades were actually pretty strong. And then I got out of grad school, and I cannot imagine that today I'm taking specialized courses on diversity, equity, inclusion, on leading through questioning, through racial equity inclusion, because that's the kind of courses that I'm delivering for my clients, and my grades are amazing. It's almost as if the more specialized I get, the more focused on what it is I believe I can do with this information, the better I'm able to concentrate, and the more meaning this has for me. Again, this is tying into this chapter because Napoleon Hill says, any man is educated who knows where to get knowledge when he needs it and how to organize that knowledge into a definite plan of action. Now I know where to go get that information.
Yeah.
I have an idea as to how I might organize this information that I'm getting. And I've got clients in mind who are willing to pay for this information that I'm acquiring.
Galen, I want to put a pin in that on the certification conversation just a little bit too, because I want to come back full circle to that after you tell us, you kind of introduce this text to us in a little bit more depth. So do you mind starting us out there?
Absolutely, absolutely. And we do this, right? We can talk about each of these principles individually, but the real beauty, I believe, of this philosophy is that it's part of an entire process. It's part of an entire philosophy. So take a listen to these steps and think about where specialized knowledge and observations fit in and how, although they could stand alone, they don't stand alone. Let's take a listen to this.
Number 1 is desire. Napoleon Hill said that everything starts with a burning desire, a compelling reason for doing what it is we do. Step 2 is faith, having belief in our ability to attain that which we desire. Step 3 is what we call autosuggestion. Autosuggestion simply means being very intentional about the things that we are pouring into our thoughts, into our brains, and into our consciousness. Our brains, our minds will receive everything automatically, but we have to work extra hard to make sure that the positive things are what we are feeding ourselves, because those positive thoughts are going to turn into positive actions. Step number 4 is specialized knowledge. No one person knows everything, even about whatever their particular area of expertise might be. And the value of the Mastermind principle is using the specialized knowledge of other people. Step number 5 is imagination, the workshop of the mind. Everything starts with our imagination and our thoughts, the burning desire to transform those thoughts into our reality. In order to do that, we have to take a look at step 6, which is organized planning. That is how we crystallize our desire into action, organizing ourselves. Having the thought and not acting on the thought isn't going to get us anywhere. We have the thought, we go through the organized planning to transform that thought into action. Step number 7 is decision. What Napoleon Hill said is the mastery of procrastination. Napoleon Hill said that the antidote to procrastination is simply to make a decision and then move on that decision. Step 8 is persistence. We have to have a sustained effort which is induced by our faith in order to achieve our goals. One of Napoleon Hill's books I love, even the title, 3 Feet from Gold. Those people who became rich during the gold rush in the wild, wild west days didn't do that because they were necessarily smarter or had better information than anyone else. It's because they stayed just a little bit longer. Sometimes people left when they were just literally 3 feet from gold. So hanging in there, being persistent, is step number 8. Step number 9, the power of the mastermind, the driving force. None of us can accomplish anything on our own. Everybody, I don't care who you are, from the most prominent person to the person who might be considered the lowest on the totem pole, everybody has someone who helped them get to where they are. And the power of the mastermind is being able to use those influences around us, use the thoughts, use the knowledge, use the exploration of other people to help us in achieving our goal. Step number 10, the mystery of sex transmutation. This title can be a little confusing, but essentially what the mystery of sex transmutation means is that we oftentimes in our society think of sex as being purely physical. It is absolutely physical, but what Napoleon Hill teaches us is that sex also has an emotional element, and that sex is the strongest of our desires. That if we can take our sexual energy, transform that into positive, creative influences, it can propel us to new heights. And so we spend quite a bit of time talking about the mystery of Step 10, which is sex transmutation. Step number 11 is the subconscious mind, which Napoleon Hill tells us is the connecting leap between our human mind and the infinite intelligence, the source of all thought, the source of all creativity. Conscious mind, we spent some time talking about how we use that through the influence of autosuggestion and what we're feeding into our mind. Step number 12, which is the brain, the broadcasting and receiving station of thought. Final step number 13, the sixth sense, the door to the temple of wisdom. This is the final step through which infinite intelligence may and will communicate voluntarily without any effort from or demands by the individual. The principle is the apex of the philosophy. It can be assimilated, understood, and applied only by first mastering the other 12 principles.
Good stuff. Good stuff. That the 13 principles, the 13 chapters of Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. Let's dive back on into this conversation about specialized knowledge, chapter 4 of this infamous text. You know, Galen was talking about certifications a little bit. I teach an entrepreneurship class, and this past week, I told the students, I explained college to them. I explained it, Ann McNeill, from a capitalistic perspective, just so they could understand that what the college is truly in business for. And, you know, I tell them all the time, listen, I'm not your average professor. I'm the one who's going to tell you the real deal. I'm not teaching calculus. I'm not teaching biochem. I'm teaching what you're going to be utilizing once you get out of here. And even for that matter, you can utilize it for your own business purposes, or just know that the individuals that you're working for, they're utilizing it. You're working for someone who started their own business and are utilizing it for their own purposes. So I let them know colleges are in business for one reason: to make money. Kept it real with them. Now, their means to the end to get to that money is to provide this knowledge, teach this education to you. And then that's it. Yeah, they want you to get a good job after you leave for their numbers, for their purpose, so they could attract more students and tell them that, hey, the majority of our graduates go on to get this percentage of jobs. So don't be naive to believe that you're here and that they always are into what you're doing and your success. Everything's a means to an end. And then I'll even go so far as to say that I even told my daughter, who's finished her undergraduate degree, she said, "Hey, I'm thinking about going get my master's." I told her in 2021, which was last year or the year before, I told her, don't go get your master's. This is to your credit there, Galen. Don't get your master's degree. Go get a specific certification that you know is going to benefit your career and or your business goals. Scrap the degree. And I just read a report this week, and this is for both of you, that the MBA is becoming more and more worthless. Why? Because we can acquire a lot of this knowledge on YouTube, right? These days, these days, and I'll finish off with this, and I'll pass the baton over to Ann McNeill. Um, we this knowledge, this information that's available to us, our parents, this is what Ann McNeill was mentioning earlier, our parents and our parents and our parents, they went with what they knew and understood. They knew that the the quickest path to success was going to get that education. I'm just telling you now, moving forward, that I don't know if that's this most seamless path for our kids as they continue to move forward. Ann McNeill, what are your thoughts? That was a lot.
No, you hit the nail on the head. And I think this is a very sensitive subject for all
It
of
is.
us,
It very much is. Yes.
parents and grandparents, especially in Galen. No, we had our grandson on who decided to leave Morgan State after the second year. And I cannot even begin to express the conversations that took place and still taking place.
I can
And that's
imagine.
been almost 2 years now, almost. Again, going back to the point you made about telling her, get a specialization. This week, I went to a conference in Orlando. It was in construction. And when I began to realize that I needed to, this is one of my McNeilisms, right? I needed to niche to be rich. I began to focus all of my energy and my resources on specializing in different industries in construction. So yesterday there was an industry conference called DBIA, and it was for design builders in construction. And it was design builders in transportation. So they do design building in health care. They do design building in facilities, which are your public buildings and your schools. Why is this important in this conversation? Specialization is the new world economy, if you will.
Yeah.
We talked earlier in preparation for this program, and the realization hit me in the fact that Carnegie, Edison, and Ford. Carnegie, Edison, and Ford. What do they have in common? Can you put it in the chat? All of you listening. What did these three men have in common? Carnegie, Edison, and Ford. Can somebody put it in the chat? And I would give you some GB points, but I don't have any. I have to get some alone.
Very tightly held.
They did not finish high school, but they each specialized and they niched to be rich. What are you specializing in as you're listening to this podcast? Put it in the chat. Let us become your accountability mastermind group and hold you accountable. Let's have some dialogue around what is it that you'd like to know from the three of us about your specialized knowledge? Because oftentimes we think knowledge is specialized, and it's not. It's not. Renette, thank you so very much. And all of you listening in, Dr. Raquel, Ruben, thank you, Colette, Coleman, Doretha, thank you, all of you. Put it in the chat. What are you specializing in? Again, this specialized knowledge does not require degrees. And like Peter said, it requires a certification and or specialization and or surrounding yourself with people that have the knowledge that that you need. I'll just say this, and I'll go back to the two of you. I was reading in this book, and I wanted to bring it because I thought it was so powerful. This is Boss Moves. My grandson left this by Dr. Myron Golden, and like I said, the bag's all off. I've dealt with this so much, but this is one of the things that he talked about, and I just wanted to share this. He shares a story. He said, when you specialize in your business, you don't have to. And this is a confirmation of what Napoleon Hill said. You don't have to know. It's a confirmation of what Carnegie did. You don't have to know, but surround yourself with the people that do know. Self mastery and leadership. Pick one. Pick one, Dr. Rubin. Pick one, please. But what Dr. Golden said was, when you do that and surround yourself, he said, remember this, and it's scriptural. One can chase 1,000. Two can put to flee and chase 10,000. That is the power of specializing and hooking up with somebody who has some skills that maybe you don't have in a partnership. You don't have to always be in possession of that knowledge that you seek, but to what end? That's what Peter was saying. To what end is the knowledge for? The end is for your desired goal. It may be money, it may not be. So I just wanted to share that because I thought it was so powerful, so powerful.
Yeah, one of the things I'm thinking about, as I continue to pay for one of those high-priced educations, is that I don't know that I'm convinced that we're saying that colleges and universities are a bad place.
No, we're not. We're not saying that though.
I think what we're saying, and it even says it, Napoleon Hill even says in the text that it's about how can you acquire the knowledge that you need in order to put it into action. And he says, one of the places is your own experience, your own personal observation. That could be a source of education. You can go to colleges, universities. You can go to a public library. You can go to these certification places to acquire the information that you need. But this idea of I'm just going to go to school, I'm just going to get a degree. Any degree will matter. Well, any degree is not any degree will not help you. You have to have knowledge in a particular area that's going to allow you to do this thing that you believe that you want to do. Because I'm thinking about my own daughter who believes she wants to do research in biochemistry. And in order for her to do that kind of research, they are going to require knowing that that she's attended a school that's got some rigor to it. Last thing I'm gonna say before I turn this back over is a lot of times people will ask me, Galen, what did you get from going to business school? And I don't know that I can point to a specific calculation. I don't know that I can point to a specific case study or anything like that. But one thing that I can say that I got is I got the confidence that I can go through a program with rigor and I won't give up, right? And that's something that I take with me in anything else that I'm doing. But let's not be confused into thinking that attending, a Florida Memorial or attending Georgia State or attending Harvard or Rice University or any of these schools in and of itself is going to be your ticket to success. It will not lead you to the promised land. What can you do with this specialized knowledge that you may have gotten from attending those schools? I think that's what we're saying.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, Galen, because you said what many people are thinking about is the fact that you went through these programs and were able to complete it. You saw it all the way through to the end. You didn't quit and everything. And so think about it. Our degrees would almost be worthless if there were not people in organizations who put in the job description, bachelor's degree required. Why do they put it in there? You know why? Because they went through it. It's almost like a fraternity or sorority. They think that because they did it, you got to do it, and it's going to be beneficial for the organization. Not necessarily. Listen, my daughter went to the same one I was telling you about. She got her undergraduate degree in merchandising and textile apparel. She's a senior HR business partner for a large international retail organization. HR, general merchandising and textile apparel, human resources. When she was hired, they didn't even pay attention to that specialization. She checked the box for bachelor's degree. And here's where I'm going with that. Um, if I had to do it all over again, I finished my doctorate about 5 years ago. I would not have gotten the doctorate. Ooh, a lot of people are going to be like, "What?" Listen, I may not even gotten the master's degree. The primary reason I did it for all of you West Indian audience listeners or Caribbean, you know that your parents, that generation was all about education, even to the nth degree. It was so much so that when I was in school, they would be asking me, "Hey, how's it going? What you get on that last test? What you get on that homework?" Right? And I carried that with me, especially as an African American male, that my ticket to success is only going to be the fact that I complete these degrees. That's how I started out my life. I've evolved a little bit and understand the landscape much better now, to understand this as what we're talking about today, even as Napoleon Hill's book mentions, is that there's more to it than the education alone. That's what we're trying to communicate. Go ahead, Ed McNeill.
I keep having these embarrassing epiphanies for myself. Embarrassing in that what you're talking about is the third word in the title of the book.
Right.
Think
Yes.
and grow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? How can we evolve as we get more information about what it takes to be successful? How can we give ourselves grace to evolve and not just do the same thing that grandmama did or great
Yeah.
grandmama did because they did it that way, but now we have more information. Even in Napoleon Hill's day, he didn't have YouTube, right? There are so many things that I want to know how to do or I need to know how to do, and I don't even need to get a certification. I don't even need to go to the library. I can just type in a phrase on YouTube, and there's someone further down the path that can explain to me how to do this thing that I need to do. So we've got to allow ourselves to grow, especially if we're trying to acquire wealth or money or riches. So it's in the title of the daggone book. It's the third word in the title of the book. Think and grow rich.
Yeah, I want to just jump in for a second because you hit the nail on the head, Galen, when you said grow. But when you also said you go to YouTube and you type in not general words,
Hmm.
come on, somebody, you type in specific words,
Mm-hmm.
and what comes up, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, are the top specialized individuals, experts in that word. Now, I want to go to something that Renette Gordon said. She said, my education is in engineering and business, but I found out that my life purpose has been innovator. Now, here I want us to just hone in, all of us. Creator, here we go, coach and speaker. The specialization that you're coaching and speaking in, Renette Gordon, is what? Can you put it in the chat? Because sometimes we want to speak, we want to educate, and we want to coach, but on what specialized knowledge word do we own? This is such a deep subject, it's going to set a lot of people free while on the journey to the promised land. Because if you are speaking and you are coaching and you are educating, what is the specialized knowledge of which you are discussing that you are getting and becoming an expert in that? That's what my challenge and journey was. Oh, I was in construction. Okay. And then when I would go on interviews with my clients, they would say, okay, okay, you're in construction. What do you do? Well, I do construction. Okay. Do you do drywall? Do you do painting? Do you roofing, electrical, mechanical? What do you do? I'll be back. And then I would go back and say, wow, what do I do? Maybe I want to paint. Then I would paint. But I could not outcompete the painters who've been painting for 30 years. Da, da, da. And then I would come back and then I started doing carpentry. But of course, I'm not gonna make any money doing that. And then I started doing roofing and then so for a 20-year journey, I am studying, I am attempting to find my niche to be rich space and construction. The certification and the wisdom and the knowledge and the understanding of your craft and your skill, will it make you any money? So what I had to begin to do is I began to look around in my industry and say, but wait a minute, who's making the money in this industry? And I started at the bottom and I began to go through the trades and then the construction contractors and then the construction managers and then the construction program managers. And then I found my sweet spot in that space. What am I saying to all of us? Niche in your craft. If you are coaching, recently become certified adult care. Okay, Doretha, that was Doretha. Okay, Renette, you got to tell us, what is it that you coach and you teach about? And Doretha saying, I recently became certified in adult career certified in adult care opening and adult care center. So she started out in education in schools, and then she began to niche to be rich and taking her education to adult education and adult care. This will set each and every one of us free when we get the message that you must specialize, not just specialize in your business, but also in your craft and also in your skill and become known in your industry as an expert. I want to go to something that Peter just said about his PhD, his doctoral degree. And he said, if I had to do all over again, I probably would not have gotten that or would have not gotten my master's degree. Well, listen, you have a partner here, Peter. I'm raising my hand because let me tell you what I am learning. The first chapter of this book talks about money, desire. What is it that you want? How much do and what by when? Affirmation statement recited twice a day. When I began to learn about making money, and I began to learn from the power of compound interest, that if I put a $20 bill on the market in a product that I know, like, and trust, I didn't know then what I know now. I am in total agreement with you, Peter. I now wonder if I would own 5 businesses. Because if it were all about only the money, you see, the money will compound the interest, just like that wisdom, knowledge, and understanding can be compounded. So now I realize that money will make more money, and it will make more money working for me than I will make working for it. Can I say that again? Can I say that again? Can somebody put that in the chat?
Absolutely.
When we specialize and begin to learn how to make money. This is about specialization. That's the principle. Investing in yourself in a niche, but also investing in the financial empowerment of your niche to be rich. Put $20 a month in a product that you know, like, and trust. Put it in your daughter's name, your son's name, your grandchild's name. Don't touch it. It will yield you 6 figures, 30, 40 years. So if you can do that with a $20 bill, what could you do with a $100 bill once a month? We spend that on gas. Now, this subject will set all of us free, but like the author said, you must get the specialized knowledge. Let's talk about investing. Then you must organize it. That's called learning how to analyze stocks or whatever it is, or how to invest or whatever it is. And then you must act, because a lot of people get the knowledge and they sit on it and they keep reading, they keep studying. They take no action. So those are just my thoughts coming back to Renette. She says, that's, she said, that's on point. And we are not a job title. We are so much more. I discovered my wealth genius and that changed my life, but I'm not letting you get away. This is a master class. I'm a business wealth accelerator coach. Perfect, perfect, perfect. She's coaching on wealth. You see, does that make a difference in what she said before and what she said afterwards? See, we hear also very differently when we ask somebody a question about who they are and what do they do, and they go on yank, 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 and we're listening for keywords that we can connect with. And if we don't hear those keywords are called specialized words. Just like when Galen talked about going to YouTube, what did he put in the YouTube search? Did he use a general word, or did he niche that word down to give him exactly what he wanted? And I like to challenge all of us, myself included, and all of our co-hosts. What word do we put in your name comes up first page? That's the test of specialized knowledge. Niche to be rich. But I can go. Y'all can.
Yeah, such a great conversation. I'm going to come back to you in a second, Anna, so you can tell us about how we can stay accountable also. But I also, it's important that I allow the audience to reflect on this a little bit as well. So yesterday I was coaching a client. She never finished her degree and has been super successful, always had a job. In the same breath, I know PhDs who are trying to make ends meet, people who have master's degrees who are not utilizing them at all. To Ann's credit, now my kids ask me about furthering their education. Instead, I'm telling them to invest, smart invest in their retirement, invest in stocks, right? It's shifting a little bit. And again, lastly, this is not for those of you who have kids who are in school right now, and those of you who may be going to college, taking some program right now. This is not telling you to stop doing or telling them to stop doing what they're doing. But again, for you to be able to see this from a new lens, see this entire educational knowledge gaining experience from a different perspective, and now ask yourself, for the benefit of that individual who is in that program, think about the outcome. Think about the other side. Think about the 5 to 10 to 15 years from now. How will what they're doing benefit them? How do they need to shift a little bit in order to smartly utilize what they're doing right now? And oftentimes we need an accountability partner to allow us to check ourselves on things that we say we want to accomplish. Can you tell us a little bit about accountability meetings or accountability partners?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. We are hosting a Think and Grow Rich International Mastermind Association beta test. And we will be discussing the good, the bad, and the ugly of mastermind groups. And what we'd like to do is ask you, if you're interested, have you join us. It's going to be Tuesday. You can go to International Masterminders with an S.com/group mastermind and register. Bring your questions, bring your comments, bring your creativity, because our desire as we aspire to build an international place of accountability for all mastermind groups to come and help to create best practices. We don't have all the answers, but as you come and you share, we can collectively together um, create that process. And I can go ahead and talk about the International Mastermind Association annual accountability also. Join us January the 6th and 7th of 2023 in Boca Raton at the Embassy Suites as we come together and bring our life in writing. That's the accountability at our annual Mastermind Accountability Meeting. Again, that is January the 6th and 7th in Boca Raton, Florida, at the Embassy Suites as we bring our life in writing. And our life in writing covers 10 different areas. It covers your spiritual, your family, your financial, your health, your education, your personal development, as we're talking about now. That can be your professional, it could be your career, but also your business. What about what you desire to do recreationally? And your civic area of giving of your time, talents, and treasure to a worthwhile cause. And then finally, your creativity. And we encourage you to set your goals for 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years at least in writing. It could be one sentence. It doesn't have to be a lot. It could be one sentence. So we'll look forward to seeing all of you. You can go again to the internationalmasterminders.com and you can register. We will see you in Boca Raton.
Good stuff. Good stuff, Ann McNeill. So, we're drawing close to our time with all of you today. This has been an extremely robust conversation. Now let's think about how we're going to land this plane, folks. And Galen, I want to ask you to start us out landing this plane. Let us know what's the biggest takeaway from your perspective, Galen. Maybe some other words of wisdom for us as we're thinking about this educational conversation, our educational experiences. What's on top of mind for you, sir?
Yeah, just listening to you, I started thinking about a client that I met last week, and she has a Caribbean background, so she kind of buys in that whole. You described her family personality as well, perfectly. She also has a PhD in neuroscience, so incredibly brilliant. She's done the hard work,
Yeah.
not just to get a degree, but to get a PhD in neuroscience, right? So just absolutely brilliant. She was also a competitive athlete, so she played sports at a competitive level, and she's a former print model. So she's actually worked as a print model. And you might ask what she's doing today. Well, today she's building a business around wellness hair care products for Black women.
Mm.
And one of the things that she and I were working on was appreciating the overlap between all these things that she's done and how it's all coming together to overlap into this thing that she's trying to create right now. And now she's getting specialized knowledge around how do I build out this business for this thing that I believe I was put here on this planet to do. So I share that to say we don't necessarily always know on the front end
Yeah.
what this thing is that we're trying to create. But we should always be in pursuit of that. We should always be in pursuit of trying to figure out what is this overlap? What's the specialized thing that I was put here on this planet to do so that I can get the specialized knowledge from people, from YouTube, from books, from the library, from universities, from certifications, from these places that have the knowledge, or from other people who have the knowledge, so that I can going back to what Ms. Ann said, so that ultimately I can make money from this thing that I was put here to do. There's a difference between a calling and a hobby. A calling is this thing that's going to drive you, and ultimately there's going to be some sort of measurable payout at the end of it. And we're contending that payout very often is money.
Galen, That was insightful. But how do we stay in touch with you moving forward?
Oh my gosh. There's so many ways. You can just type in Galen and you'll find me. Galen Bingham, anywhere you'll find me. But the most fun way to get a hold of me is by listening to Whiskey, Jazz, and Leadership podcast. We're on every platform. We talk about the whiskeys to drink, the jazz music to listen to, and what it really takes to be an effective leader. I double dog dare you to try us just once. I guarantee you, you will learn something and walk away with inspiration that's going to allow you to be more effective as a leader.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Ann McNeill, what a robust conversation today. What an in-depth conversation overall. Take us home with some final thoughts. Let us know how we can stay in touch with you.
Wow, wow, wow. Niche to be rich. I think I'm going to change my name to Specialized Knowledge. You can reach me at annmcneil.com/coaching if you want to niche to be rich. I thought it was interesting when we started prepping this morning. Galen had his head down and his pen was going fearlessly on the page. And he looked up and he said these words to me, and I can see him smiling right now. He said, I'm finishing my self confidence formula. And Galen, if you noticed, I did not have very much to say about that, did I? That is because that is how you niche to be rich. You must do the inner work. And if you're interested in doing that, I may be for you as a coach to mastermind with, I may not be. But you must be clear about exactly what you want, regardless of who you decide to work with. And like Galen said, your specialization will come. But you can connect with me at annmcneil.com/coaching and be a part of our Clarity Mastermind, but only if you have a desire. And I cannot let this program pass without talking about a dream. We just watched the first African American female, um, yes, become a listen, listen. This appointment, we didn't talk about it today, um, but she had a dream. She had a dream, and she niched as an attorney her entire life, and even as a child, she was very clear about what she wanted to specialize in. And so I want to ask all of you, and Galen and Peter, when you come back, we want to close with asking everybody to say a special prayer and to also have your own dream in order for your dream to come true. But again, Ann McNeill, the master builder. Thank you.
What's interesting about that there, Ann McNeill, is that um, her educational background, as many of us have seen, pretty much superseded all the current Supreme Court judges, which again talks to the point that as African Americans, we have seen historically that this educational path is our only way to success. And while she has really accomplished and really achieved the pinnacle of her career, um, one of the things that this text also mentions is that the person who stops studying merely because he or she has finished school is forever, hopefully, doomed to mediocrity, no matter what the person's calling. The way of success is the way of continuous pursuit of knowledge. So understand that in all that we've been talking about today, none of us has ever said that you do not continue to pursue knowledge, that you do not continue to pursue that awareness. As even Galen has mentioned, think and grow, right? What we're just suggesting is that the traditional way of doing so may need to be tweaked a little bit in your own life. And it's important for you to identify what that may look like for you and your family. and your kids who may be in college right now as well. You know, the way to biochemistry, Galen, the way to being a physician or a lawyer, those things will probably not change anytime soon. But for the rest of us, I wonder if there can be some tweaking to that traditional path that we've always spoken about. So, again, my name is Dr. Peter A. James. I'm so excited that we had this masterclass with you all today. You can find me on any social media platform at Dr. Peter A. James. That's at DrPeterAJames, or at shiftyourmindset.com, where you can find out a little bit about me, but also connect with me so that we can further this type of conversation. Let's bring everybody back in and just again be thankful, first of all, for Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, and thank God for her appointment for sure. What a landmark week it has been, just in general for the United States of America. But in addition, all of you educated folks here on this masterclass, thank you for your insight today, because this has been phenomenal to say the least. We got like a couple of minutes left. Any more parting thoughts? Anything that you may have thought about that you want to make sure that you add in? Start with you, Galen.
Hey,
Oh,
for me, it's just I'm always astounded at how no matter how deep I get into this information, I keep going back to the title of the dadgum book, right? What more could you do to think and grow? Because that is how you acquire riches. And Napoleon Hill says, money is riches, but money, that's not everything, right? That's just one of 12 of how he's defined riches. But how can you think and grow so that you can acquire this thing that you say that you want?
And McNeill, take us
yeah.
home.
Yeah, I think that Supreme Court um, confirmation of Miss Brown Jackson is an excellent example of the fact that you must have a dream in order to have a dream come true. She knew very early and she specialized in that knowledge. And what this book wraps up for us is that specialized knowledge must be organized. It must be organized. So she said, and it was in her interviews, she said very early, as a child, as a college student, her roommates did interviews, and they said from day one, she always said she wanted to be a judge. 20, 30 years, doesn't matter how long it takes, and we're talking to all of us, doesn't matter how long it takes, but surround yourself with a group of individuals who will be honest with you to hold you accountable. But you must have a dream in order to have that dream come true. Specialize. Thank you.
Good stuff. Hey, folks, have a great weekend. Have a great week ahead. We'll see you next time. Same day, same channel. Take care.